As Barry Taff and Kerry Gaynor walked through the eerie house, they couldn't help but feel an intense sense of unease. The walls were covered in peeling wallpaper, the windows were boarded up, and the air was thick with the musty smell of neglect and fear. As the two men walked through the house, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched by something they themselves couldn't see. The house was filled with an icy chill that made their blood run cold, and there was a sense of darkness that hung in the air. This was the site of either one of the most perplexing paranormal cases in history or the dwellings of a very mentally disturbed woman. As parapsychologists, they had agreed to investigate the claims made by a frantic and terrified woman by the name of Doris Bither, whose situation would become one of the most chilling and perplexing paranormal mysteries of all time, the entity case, which would baffle and confuse investigators, paranormal enthusiasts, and skeptics alike for the decades to come. It all began in 1974 when Doris Bither and her 4 children moved into a small house on the Braddock Drive in Culver City, California. Almost immediately, strange things began to happen. The family reported seeing ghostly apparitions, hearing disembodied voices, and feeling an icy chill in the air. However, things took a very sinister turn when Doris reported being physically assaulted by an unseen force. Desperate for help, Doris contacted the paranormal investigators Barry Taff and Kerry Gaynor. They agreed to investigate the case, and what they found was truly terrifying. The investigators witnessed objects moving on their own, doors opening and closing by themselves, and even saw a ghostly apparition of a man in the house. But what was most disturbing was the way in which Doris was being attacked. According to Doris, she was being sexually assaulted by an unseen entity on a regular basis. She would often wake up with bruises and scratches on her body and would feel as though she was being strangled. The investigators witnessed these attacks firsthand and were horrified by what they saw. Despite their best efforts, the investigators failed to rid the house of the entity. They eventually had to abandon the case, leaving poor Doris and her children to deal with the entity all on their own. Months passed by, and the situation only grew worse. The entity seemed to become more powerful and more malevolent. Doris was at the mercy of an unseen force that was slowly destroying and eating away her body and mind, and her children had no choice but to bear witness to their mother slowly deteriorate. And then, one day, the attacks suddenly stopped. Doris and her children left the house, and the entity seemed to vanish into thin air. But alas, the damage had already been done. Doris was a shell of her former self, and her children were far too traumatized by the events they had witnessed. The case of Doris Bither has been the subject of much debate and speculation over the years. Some believe that she was suffering from a mental illness as a result of her traumatic childhood and personal life, while others say that she was simply making the whole thing up. But the investigators who witnessed the attacks firsthand insist that there was something truly otherworldly happening in that house. One theory suggests that the entity was a poltergeist, a type of ghost that is known for causing physical disturbances. But what makes the Bither case so unusual is that the entity seemed to be able to interact with the physical world in a way that is not typically associated with poltergeists. Others have suggested that the entity was a demonic presence. The sexual nature of the attacks certainly lends some credence to this theory. But again, the fact that the entity seemed to be able to physically interact with the environment is difficult to explain. To this day, the case of Doris Bither remains unsolved. The house on Braddock Drive has long been demolished, and Doris herself passed away in 1999. But the case continues to fascinate and terrify those who hear about it. As for Barry Taff and Kerry Gaynor, both remained convinced that they had encountered something truly otherworldly in that house on Braddock Drive. They continue to investigate cases of paranormal activity, hoping to find answers and perhaps even some closure. And who knows, maybe one day they will encounter something that will finally give them the answers they have been searching for. What happened to Doris Bither and her family remains a mystery. Was she really being attacked by an unseen entity, or was there something else going on? The answers may never be known, but her story is also a reminder of the vast and unexplored mysteries of the universe. For those who dare to look beyond the veil of the physical world, there is a whole other realm waiting to be discovered. And who knows what wonders and terrors may be waiting there. If you too are a fan of the dark, horror, and mysterious, follow and subscribe to Shush Tales for more of these videos. Till then, stay safe out there.